Plus, we're supposed to be celebrating the day that Jesus died, which is like also weird. You know,
Yeah.
like
What's
we're,
the
we're
chocolate got to do with it?
I don't understand it. Where did the chocolate come from?
Why do
So
the bunnies
I thought.
lay eggs? I
Wait,
don't
no.
get it.
I thought the point of Easter where you're celebrating him coming back, not him dying.
well, he can't come back unless he dies.
Okay.
Yeah. So I choose to celebrate the dying part.
No, fair.
Not to celebrate the death; it's to celebrate the rebirth.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Smart Avengers. My name is Corey, and with me is Dylan and John. Let's start with a religious discussion this time. How's it
How much of the
going?
Oh.
Easter egg bet are you gonna keep in?
I will find out when I edit.
So happy.
There you go.
That's all I wanted. It's a happy Easter for me.
Happy Easter.
Even though when you hear this episode, it will no longer be Easter.
Easter will have been like 2-3 weeks ago by the time you hear this episode.
Yeah. Oops.
Oops. Anyway, so welcome back to Smart Avengers. My name is Corey. With me is Dylan and John, as we have already covered. And today on the show, we are going to continue on our series of deep dive of X-Men characters, where very foolishly, about 2-3 years ago, we decided that we wanted to talk about Beast, and then we're like, well, we're going to talk about Beast. We got to talk about the others. So we covered the original 5 X-Men, and if you're going to cover the original 5 X-Men, you got to cover Xavier. And John is such a fan of Magneto that, we have to cover Magneto. And yeah, it kind of just built from there. And then our last episode, we talked about 4 of the kind of jobbers of the Marvel mutant world: Mastermind, Toad, Blob, and Vanisher. So today, though, it's going to be a little bit of a weird one, because we're going to be discussing 2 characters that most people don't even associate with the X-Men anymore, and I think aren't technically considered mutants any longer. But we're going to talk about Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Thoughts before we kind of go into our rationale further?
I think we're all dreadfully excited.
I mean, yeah. Who isn't excited by Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver?
Exactly. Your cat was so excited it jumped out of camera.
Yeah, he does that. He does that.
Yeah, he's like, I can't. I need to be in the audience for this. I can't be
Yeah.
on the camera.
I gotta get into my little chair. He has a little tower that sits beside the desk that
Good.
I just hold him. Anyway,
Okay.
yes, that's the cat update for the episode. He'll be up and about more. I'm sure he's in a mood. Anyway, that being said, this one's gonna be kind of strange and some caveats. As you may or may not know, Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch, at least the Scarlet Witch these days, is pretty big, heavy hitter in the Marvel world. Not only was she determined to be the greatest Marvel and DC character of all time by this very podcast, but she is the current Sorcerer Supreme for Marvel Comics. She has had her own television show on Disney Plus. She's been in several Avengers, movies and cartoons and whatnot. She's a big deal. But the problem is, we're not an Avengers podcast. Technically, we're also not an X-Men podcast, but we talk about the X-Men an awful lot. So our challenge in this deep dive of Wanda and Pietro is to not talk about the Avengers whatsoever, except for in passing.
Yeah,
it's going to be difficult.
A brief little
aside. At this point, she was doing this over here with that guy.
At some point, she killed all of them.
Yes. So.
I have to mention.
So yeah. As you know, we'll do our deep dive here in just a few moments. John is going to be steering the ship a little bit, as he tends to with these deep dive episodes. I've got some notes as well to chime in with some details that I think maybe or may not need to be mentioned. Dylan's along for the ride, maybe playing the Marvel Maximum Collection at the same time. We don't know.
We talked about this off camera, so we're gonna wait till Sunday.
Fair. Well, that being
Pokemon.
Oh yeah. That being said, are you guys ready to start talking about the 2 characters that were mutants and then weren't mutants and then maybe were mutants and now definitely aren't mutants?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Well, let's get going. John, would you like to start us off?
Okay. Well, everyone knows who the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are. Scarlet Witch, obviously, her powers originally were more to do with like the chaos and hex magic. And then Quicksilver was just a super speedy guy. They both debuted in X-Men #4 as members of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, having been recruited by Magneto after he saved them from some bigoted humans who were out for mutant blood. They were both, like, from the start, very reluctant members of the Brotherhood, but because Magneto had saved them, they kind of felt like they were in his debt. So, like, the first appearance, they tried to seize control of an island called Santo Marco, but were foiled by the X-Men. And after that happens, the twins basically want to quit while they're ahead and leave Magneto and co, but he won't let them. And instead he uses Wanda as like a pawn to try and convince Namor, the Submariner, to help them destroy the X-Men. And Magneto even shows how callous he is by like being willing to sacrifice Quicksilver to get the job done. But but because Namor has a bit of a soft spot for, well, basically any woman, but Scarlet Witch was there, so he had a soft spot for her. She convinced him to help free Quicksilver, and they all kind of escaped and got away. So then they tried to approach the Fantastic Four, to see if they could help, the twins like get away from Magneto, but they basically treated them like the criminals that they were at that point. So again, they like went back to the Brotherhood and still felt trapped by their circumstances. At this point, this is all within about not even a dozen issues of X-Men, and I think that last one was in the Fantastic Four as well. So we get to X-Men 11, and this is where the Stranger has been manipulated by Magneto, and this is where they finally have enough. Wanda and Pietro, they're like, enough is enough. We got to get out of here. And so they turn on Magneto. X-Men actually offer them a place on the team as well, but they turned it down. Mostly Pietro turned it down after Wanda had considered like the possibility of joining them, but he's a bit of a hothead, bit of a stubborn kind of guy. And I think he felt like, we've just been on this one team where someone's ordering us about. We don't really want to jump straight into another where that's going to be a similar situation.
Right.
So what happens soon after?
They
Then
go to the team.
They join the Avengers.
So real quick before we move on to the next mutant chapter of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Real quick, this came about through a gentleman by the name of Joseph Dorowski argued that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, who had left the X-Men by issue 20, that they had established Quicksilver as one of the few characters in the early run who directly engaged with the social tension that a lot of people tied to the X-Men. The Quicksilver was one of the characters that was actively like questioning, why are we doing this? Like, why do we have to be nice to humans if they hate us and they fear us? sort of taking the more moderate, lesser, like more so like the villain, not the villainous side of Magneto, but more of the like, why do we need to be involved in this at all? Because like he wants us to kill a bunch of people and he's bossing us around, and these people want to save all these people that are just been nothing but dickbags to us.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we just be regular people?
Yeah, like why do we need to be involved in this?
Mm-hmm.
And Scarlet Witch, of course, at the time was written a lot like a lot of the female characters in Marvel, where she was kind of, you know, there,
Massive.
the woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her character trait being
Well,
the woman.
considering Namor had his eyes on her, that seems pretty.
Namor had his eyes on her. Toad had his eyes on her. Mastermind had her eyes on her. Hawkeye had
Mastermind,
his eyes on her.
you know, Mastermind and Toad, well known for being creeps.
Yeah.
I
As we
ask a
discussed
question?
in our previous episode where we talked about the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Real quick, can I ask? So they were stuck in the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants with Magneto, the evil mastermind that he is. Very evil and abusive and manipulative. That, you know, John seems to love.
Bit of a twat, some would say.
I don't know.
I wouldn't.
Somebody would certainly say that. Why? Like, what did Magneto do? Like, couldn't they just have been like, "I'm out of here"? Like Quicksilver.
It was more obligation which kept him than anything else. Like he was manipulating them a bit as well, like playing on the fact that, you know, he'd saved their lives basically, and that they owed him. So as much as they wanted to leave, like their honor kind of kept them from leaving properly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Cool. No problem.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. Off we go.
So as I mentioned, they would go on to join Cap's kooky quartet, along with another reformed villain in Hawkeye. But we're not going to talk about that because that's the Avengers, and this is
not Avengers podcast.
X-Men talk.
Yeah, it's not.
So while they were in the Avengers, so Professor X did once again offer them a chance to join the X-Men, which is a bit rude, I think, like trying to poach another team's talent. But that's Professor X for you. He's a bit of a
tampering.
dick.
Yeah, again, we've talked about him being a dick in not just his own episodes, but many other episodes as well.
Some say he's a jerk.
But yeah, they turned him down and carried on doing their thing. Meanwhile, left Magneto previously. He'd been imprisoned by the Stranger after his attempts to manipulate him backfired. But then he manages to free himself somehow, and once again looks to get the band back together. And basically to do that, he again tries manipulating Wanda and Pietro, accusing them of being like race traitors, and then locking them up against their will. But this time the Avengers managed to like rescue them. So Magneto says, okay, well, screw you. I'm going to head to the UN and propose my own sovereign mutant nation, which, as we've discussed in the Magneto podcast, is sort of a recurring theme for him. But then this whole thing turns into a big conflict with the Avengers. And in the middle of all this, Wanda is wounded by a stray shot, like a bullet, which was actually manipulated by Magneto to kind of hit her. And in doing so, it kind of causes the hot-headed Quicksilver to snap, and he assumes that like a human had shot Wanda deliberately, not knowing Magneto had been the actual cause of it. So that causes him to kind of realign with Magneto again and kind of get get on board with Magneto's message of mutants suck and humans suck and mutants rule.
Mhm.
And while this
Yeah.
happened, the Bullet has somehow managed to make Wanda lose her powers. So she's like, powerless, and Quicksilver decides to search out Professor Xavier to try and see if he can help her recover. This was at the point, I say the point, there's been multiple points, but at
It
a
was Xavier
point
in space.
where, no, this is
Okay.
where he was dead, apparently.
Oh, opposite of in space.
In space.
So yeah, with no Xavier to turn to, they both ended up going back to Magneto again. This is like X-Men 43 that this happens. So a bit of a gap between leaving the Brotherhood in X-Men 11 and coming back again in 43. But yeah, so now they're back on the team. And after Magneto manages to capture the X-Men, Wanda and Quicksilver are like begging him not to kill them. But then the Avengers show up and basically help free the X-Men, and all of them help defeat Magneto as well. So Magneto's defeated, and Quicksilver and Wanda escape with Toad.
That's
Wanda's
unfortunate.
still, yeah, Wanda's still powerless at this point. And they get split up along the way somehow, and she gets captured by some Sentinels now. So why the Sentinels would be going after her when she's,
There's no power.
yeah, I don't know. I can't explain it. But basically the X-Men rescue her, and she does regain her powers eventually by being abducted once again. This time by Archon, the like thunder guy from another dimension who has crossed over. Like he was in the X-Men cartoon back in the day. I think he had an episode with Storm, but yeah.
Archon.
Anyway,
Okay.
yeah.
Me and Corey both. Oh, quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you both look really puzzled. He takes her to his home world, which is like a world with like storms and stuff. And I don't know how or why, but apparently just going to that world kind of reactivated her powers. But she eventually gets back to Earth and then rejoins the Avengers once again.
Okay, fun fact, I don't remember Archon.
Same.
I don't blame you.
Mm.
It was not one of the best episodes of that show.
Mhm.
So yeah, they're back with the Avengers.
Good.
And to be honest, there's not a whole lot of interaction with the mutant world over the next few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's some significant events that happen, like Wanda and Vision like falling in love.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I bet that's a
Uh,
great story that you'll have to
and
go somewhere else to hear, because we're not
yes.
talking about the Avengers.
We can't do it next week, obviously, because we're talking about the Shocker.
Yeah.
Maybe the week after that, we'll see.
Yeah.
Has once again been kidnapped by Sentinels.
I can. Sorry. The cap is on the screen.
And Quicksilver leaves the Avengers to go and rescue her. I
Mhm.
don't know why the other Avengers weren't in on this plan.
They're
You'll have
probably
to go
busy.
and read that issue to find out.
Well, we did talk a little bit about in the Kang Dynasty how like the Avengers don't always have the best priorities. Like when they sent like the Triathlon and whoever else into space, and despite having like they knowing space people. Like you're telling me you couldn't get Quasar on the phone?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Nova's there on Earth with the New Warriors. He could have done it for you.
Yeah, where was Nova?
I think technically a teenage boy at the time, so maybe they didn't want to put Nova in the line of fire like that.
Oh, that's never stopped him before. Hello, Catcam's getting pretty rogue today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
American Dream's
This
in the
is
mood.
Yeah, I've seen him in a mood before.
Anyway, yes, John.
So Quicksilver goes off to try and rescue her, but he is beaten to the punch by Vision, and that kind of helps further along the romance between Vision and Scarlet Witch, but also kind of causes a bit of a rift with Quicksilver as well, because he's a bit jealous, because he's like, oh, that's my sister, I should be rescuing her.
Yeah, Quicksilver and Hawkeye in particular were not fans of Vision and Wanda getting together. I remember that. For different reasons.
Not.
Or at least you hope.
I mean, I can understand that, man. I don't want to sound like that guy in the 21st century or whatever, but humans and robots fucking, I don't know, I'm okay with that. I don't know if that's going to get the
future,
show
man.
canceled, but...
All right, your AI girlfriend is on the way.
Leave her out of this. We can't all go out with
her. Anyway, Quicksilver has been injured by the Sentinels during his botched rescue attempt, and he basically gets found by Crystal of the Inhumans, taken back to what's their hometown called?
Oh God, I actually know that, but the second you asked me, it left.
Adelan?
Adelan.
Yes, that's the one. So they went back there.
Noted Inhumans historian Dylan.
Yeah.
Who knows more about the Inhumans than me? You got a question about the Inhumans, you come to me.
Well, we may have many more as we play a bigger
I
role.
wish I had not said that then.
So Crystal helps Quicksilver recover from his injuries. The two fall in love, very quickly get married, and then not long after, they have a kid as well called Luna. But while all this is going on, have kind of fallen hard for each other, and Pietro is not happy with their situation at all. In fact, he's pretty disgusted, and he decides to cut ties with his sister. So while he's off in Atalan with his new wife, Wanda is getting captured by Magneto and then brainwashed into attacking world leaders to try and gain access to some lovely nuclear weapons where he can unleash hell on Earth. But, that pesky robot dude, Vision, saves the day and foils Magneto's plans. What a dick.
Robots, man.
So John, question for you as the Magneto fan of the room. How does it feel for Magneto to get beat by a robot who's notoriously known for being made of metal?
Is he made of metal? Is he like some sort of synthetic?
He's a synthetic something, but there's some metal in there.
Yeah. Somewhere.
I mean, it's bound to be some metal. But then he goes intangible, so maybe, that's hard for Magneto to use his powers on something that's, not quite there.
Dylan?
Right, but then he has to become tangible at some point to do anything to Magneto.
Dylan, write this down. When we do our second episode on how to kill Magneto, this is going to come in big.
Something intangible.
Intangible syphilis.
Magic garbage truck dumpster. That doesn't make anything to Corey.
It doesn't.
So where are we? Vision saves the day. Then shortly after, they they kind of meet a hero from back in like the 1940s called the Wizard, who basically mentions that his children were born at Wundagore, and his wife died there in childbirth. So that, makes Wanda think, oh, hang on, he might be our father because we're children who
Hey, you're
were
fast
born
and
in
he's
Wundagore.
fast.
Yeah, it sort of makes sense, I guess.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah, nothing ever really comes of that because not long after that, Wanda and Pietro sort of reconcile, and she gets to meet her niece. But then Magneto shows up as well, and he basically claims that he's their real father, and he's Luna's granddaughter, and he wants to meet her. Saying that he's just found out that after having met Bova, the
Cow lady.
anthropomorphic, cow lady, she's basically told him that the twins might be his long lost children after his wife Magna left him years before, and died in Wundagore. But the twins, basically remembering all the multiple times that Magneto has kind of
Fucked them over,
Been a dick.
manipulated them, and
ruined their lives.
they're like, you know what, you can fuck off. And so they reject him, but that kind of plays its part in Magneto's redemption arc as well, because it makes him again sort of reconsider or reframe some of his actions over the years, and help soften those edges. But we talked about that. You can go back to them and listen to that episode.
Yep.
But where were we? So now Quicksilver is kind of getting back into the world of heroics again, but that means he's neglecting Crystal, who goes on to have an affair with just a regular human called Norm Webster, which I thought was,
Norman
pretty
Webster?
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
just like the blandest name.
Not great.
Apparently he had sold a house to Vision and Scarlet Witch, which is how he met Crystal.
Okay.
Yeah. And so when Quicksilver finds this out, he basically snaps again. He gets manipulated by the evil Inhuman called Maximus into attacking the Avengers, and basically turning heel for a time. And while Quicksilver's off, being a nuisance, Wanda at the same time has seen her magic abilities increase after she becomes pregnant with twins, eventually giving birth to Tommy and Billy.
Sure.
But then she gets corrupted by some sort of magic entity called That Which Endures, which causes her own mental state to start fraying at the edges.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not in a good place either. It causes her children to start vanishing in and out of existence when she can't concentrate enough to kind of keep them there.
That happens to me all the time.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Well,
I mean, if you want some peace and quiet, it's not a bad thing, I guess.
yeah, let's get rid of them for a bit,
Yep.
Nice. Yeah.
That's what happened to your
Well,
kids,
it
right,
turns
John?
out, I mean, my kids have a lot in common with Wanda's kids, because they were also
Not real.
conceived using pieces of the soul of a demon called Master Pandemonium, who was created by Mephisto.
Fair.
It's good you have that in common. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
That everybody has that.
So yeah, because of this connection, Mephisto basically claims the children's souls as his own, and to kind of stop him from getting them, I think Agatha Harkness erases Wanda's memory of the kids even existing. So, yeah, she can't create them anymore, and then she. I guess the idea is to sort of spare her the pain of the loss of them as well by making her not remember them, which I'm sure won't come into play in any future storylines that we come across.
I can't imagine it would.
Nope.
No.
Yeah, so Wanda is still pretty mentally fragile at this point, even with the, erased memories and whatnot. So she ends up rejoining Magneto along with Pietro. Although Pietro is only joining up with the two of them so he can try and rescue Wanda, having shaken off like the ill effects of Maximus's manipulations that we mentioned like 5 minutes ago.
So real quick is to kind of give some more background kind of stuff. Some more Quicksilver facts, I guess, from like behind the scenes kind of stuff. There was a memo that got passed around in the 70s in the Marvel offices ranking Avengers characters by importance because they were having a hard time working with. They were having a very hard time with using Quicksilver in the Kooky Quartet because they found out that Quicksilver and Hawkeye were basically doing the same thing, which was being the arrogant, angry guy. So, in this memo that was going around, I believe, let me see if I'll pull up the names. Yes.
Let's see the rest.
Real quick. A 1972 internal Marvel Comics memo later made public by comics historian Sean Howe ranked the company's characters by importance. Quicksilver was the only superhero on the entire list to receive the lowest ranking, quote, not as important. The other characters who got it were two Western characters, the Ringo Kid and Western Ghost Rider, and a background figure, Uatu the Watcher. The assessment had visible consequences for his role in the books, with Hawkeye already occupying the role of the team's hot-headed dissenter, and Quicksilver's similar temperament left him with little narrative purpose, and he was periodically written out of the title altogether. So that's what led to Quicksilver leaving the Avengers, essentially. He was redundant. Because with Hawkeye, you could have him do the love tease with Scarlet Witch, and you can't do that with Quicksilver because it is weird.
I mean, you can do it, but it would be weird.
Only in the Ultimate Comics you can do it.
Only in Ultimate Avengers.
Well, they were like, we can't have it with brother and sister because that's weird. So we'll just do it with like a girl and a robot.
Yep.
It's not weird. Totally cool.
Totally cool.
Makes sense.
Legally at the time, no issues.
So yeah, I mean, what do you do with Quicksilver? You put him in the Inhumans. Here, no one's gonna notice this.
What time frame are we at? Like in terms of like
we're in
real...
the 80s now, are we not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of, getting towards the 90s at this point, I believe.
Okay.
So where are we? I would say we are at the point where Immortus, who we know is another, different variant of Kang the Conqueror.
Our boy Kang. Love him.
He has basically been manipulating events to try and increase the Scarlet Witch's powers, which explains how her magic has kind of grown and she's become more and more powerful. or with the idea of then using her powers for his own means and goals and whatever. That doesn't actually happen because the Avengers stop him, as they have a want to do.
They do like to stop Kang somehow.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think he'd be used to it by now, but doesn't
You think
stop
a
him
guy that
from
can
keeping
travel
trying.
time and gets the heads up and all this shit would maybe like be a little bit more prepared?
Yeah, you'd think
He's
so.
kind of the worst time traveler if you think about it.
Well, he's good at traveling through time.
He knows all this stuff is gonna happen. You can't do fucking dick about it though.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
So Wanda's getting more powerful by the day. Quicksilver has, he's not really changed at all, but he does join the US government's team of X Factor. Quits the Avengers and goes to join a team called Forcework.
Classic.
Yeah. So I would like to fill in anything with Quicksilver's time in X Factor, Corey, because I didn't really find out much about it.
Peter David was really excited to have Quicksilver on his lineup. He felt that of all of the characters in comics that were arrogant, that really Quicksilver and Namor were the only people who had any right to be. Namor, of course, the prince of a sovereign nation, ruler of Atlantis. I guess king, technically, at this point. He's not been Prince Namor in a while. Just the name just flowed so well. But yeah, Namor, the sovereign leader of a nation who comprises 70% of the Earth, and Quicksilver, who Peter David had this theory about that he explored with X Factor, is that Quicksilver was more than just somebody who could move really fast. Everything about him was really fast, including how he thought and how he perceived time. So Quicksilver got the reputation of being, pissy and arrogant because he is constantly dealing with a world that is moving too fucking slow for him, because he moves very fast and he thinks very fast. So, like, his time with X Factor, of course, was typical for Quicksilver. He didn't get along with Havoc, who was the team leader. He thought that Havoc was not an effective leader, which many people kind of would agree with for the most part. God bless Alex Summers. This isn't a quick aside. When we get to the Havoc episode, there's going to be a lot of, and then Alex had a mental breakdown, and then Alex had a mental breakdown.
That seems to be his gimmick.
He's got an inferiority complex, that's for fucking sure. And having Quicksilver there rubbing your fucking face in it, I'm sure did wonders for him. But yes, so Quicksilver was on the team with his half-sister Polaris. Also, Quicksilver was the only member of the team who didn't wear a uniform. Everybody else wore the blue and yellow government-issued uniform, and he kept his silver and blue and was like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah, no. So a lot of it, he was there because Peter David really loves working with foils. So Quicksilver was there to be the foil of Havoc, who, of course, like I said, was the leader, but was also very doubtful and unsure of himself. Then you had Quicksilver, who wasn't the leader and absolutely full of himself. And then he was also there to be brash and impatient and easily angered in comparison to the happy-go-lucky and free-going multiple man and strong guy. Of course, and a big thing that got played into, I kind of mentioned it already, but there was a issue called examinations, where Quicksilver where all the team members had to go to therapy, and I think they all saw Doc Samson. And Doc Samson basically, questioned him on like, oh, why are you so irritable with everyone all the time? And that's where he explains the whole, like, my everyday existence is like being stuck in line behind someone who doesn't know how to use an ATM or doesn't know how to order off a menu. So he's like, that's why I'm so goddamn angry, because the world is moving so slow around me. But yeah, his time in X Factor I enjoyed it a good bit. Was his time in X Factor, John, are we now getting to the blood ties? Bloodline? I can't remember if it's blood ties or bloodlines.
I have no idea, to be honest. I have I don't think I've got that in my notes at all.
Oh.
What is Blood Ties then?
So Dylan, go ahead and tell us about Blood Ties.
Blood Ties was a comic which was a crossover between the Avengers and the X-Men, where this is at the point where Magneto had this must have been
Asteroid M?
yeah. So when did that must have been what, the early 90s then?
Yeah.
I thought it was like late 80s. It must have been early 90s. So this is whenever Magneto had I believe this is when he had his mind wiped by Xavier.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, Fabian Cortez wanted to bring back Magneto, or at least give the illusion that he was bringing back Magneto and trying to unite a lot of people. Part of it was really he was very afraid that somebody was going to beat the shit out of him. So he thought, what I'll do is I will kidnap Luna, the child of Quicksilver, the most volatile person in the world, as we've established.
Great idea. Great idea.
The angriest fucking prick in the world. He will kidnap Luna with the help of some Genosian mutates, and he will try to kind of rule Genosha himself and uprise the mutates to protect him while he holds on to Luna. And obviously this unites the X-Men and the Avengers because at the time we established Quicksilver is a part of X Factor. It's not technically the X-Men, but it is a group of mutant people. And Wanda is in the Avengers and has ties to that too. Plus, this is like a global crisis, so the Avengers are kind of called in. Well, in the story, they're not called in. They're explicitly told not to intervene. And they're like, well, we're going to do it anyway. So they do. And that is, I believe, Exodus is I don't think he's introduced in this comic, but it makes a big deal in Blood Ties, which is why I rank Exodus so highly. Because he makes quite the impact. But it basically is a big crossover between the Avengers and the X-Men in a way to get Luna back and to kill Fabian Cortez, which they do pretty well. His plan didn't seem to have a whole lot of legs. No. I'll be honest with you. It was like, I'll steal this baby and then everybody will hate me, and then
money.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't have a whole lot of plan to it. It seemed like a kind of last ditch, like, I'm gonna watch the world burn kind of thing. But it's a fun. It's only 5 issues long, but it's a fun comic if you can find it.
Nice. I'm
glad I could put something into this.
Yeah, no, I think it was a good storyline.
It's good.
That was it was to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the X-Men and the Avengers because they came out the same year.
Aw.
There you go.
Happy birthday. Whenever it was.
So let's fast forward a little bit on from that then. But spinning out of those events with Magneto as well, getting his mind wiped. And a whole bunch of world's heroes seemingly die trying to stop him.
Yes.
Wanda is included in their number. Although they actually really end up on an alternate Earth created by Franklin Richards.
Well, what we should say about that, because of the nature of Onslaught, mutants just physically couldn't do that, which is why the Avengers jumped in, because the mutants were unable to do it. Like, just genetically, they were unable to do that.
Yeah.
But Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, could jump in there. So does that not conclusively prove that Wanda is not a mutant?
I mean, people should have probably picked up on that at the time and been like, hey, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Whoops.
But there you go. No one did.
Also, am I the only one to ever think of that in like 30 years?
I guess so. Breaking news.
Put this on Instagram and see if we can spread that around and see if
Yeah.
I'm the only one that cracked this fucking mystery.
So yeah, while Wanda was fighting Onslaught with all the Avengers and stuff, Quicksilver was not. But he's pretty bummed out because he's just lost his sister, so he tries to reunite with Crystal. The Avengers eventually return back to the 616 Earth. That causes Pietro and Crystal to split for good because she can't choose between him and Black Knight. So in his typical brash kind of way, he's like, "Oh, well, screw you then," and that's the end of that relationship. So
He just doesn't have time to wait for her to choose.
I guess, yeah,
You
she
know?
should have been a bit more snappy.
Mhm.
Anyway, so now Pietro is, at a bit of a loose end. So uh, at the same time, Magneto is back, and he's basically been given Genosha as his own sort of island nation. So Pietro goes to work for him as part of the Genosian cabinet, trying to keep him in check and make sure that Magneto doesn't overextend his, you know, uh, goals or whatever. At the same, well, sort of around the same time, Wanda's back in the Avengers. We don't really want to talk about that, but there is
What happened?
an incident that occurs where the Wasp, in just making some small talk, let's drop an unintentional remark about the tragic death of Wanda's children,
Yeah.
which causes her to slowly start remembering that, oh yes, I had children once upon a time, and causes her to snap.
Yeah.
So yeah, she basically goes a bit crazy. She kills Agatha Harkness. She resurrects a zombie version of the Jack of Hearts and then makes him blow up Avengers Mansion, which seemingly kills Scott Lang. Then she seemingly kills Hawkeye as well. All of this, sort of using her powers to manipulate all these events to happen without anyone really knowing it's her. Until she's found out by Doctor Strange, who reveals it to everyone else. And then he helps put her into this catatonic state. At which point Magneto and Professor X show up. Because at this point in the comics, Genosha had just been destroyed basically, and everyone thought Magneto was dead except for Professor X, who kind of went back there, helped find him, and then the two were sort of reconciling with one another. But yeah, so Magneto's like, I'm going to take my daughter because I can look after her better than anyone else. And all the Avengers like, yeah, okay. So that's what he does. But even with the combined efforts of Magneto and Professor X, they just can't get through to Wanda. And her powers are just sort of unconsciously going even more out of control and basically threatening reality at this point. So the heroes in their infinite wisdom consider euthanizing Wanda basically for her own good and for the good of the.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Quicksilver though, when he hears about this, he is not that keen on the idea.
One would assume.
So yeah, so he gets in there and basically is whispering in Wanda's ear and basically convincing her to warp reality, and this leads to the formation of the House of M, the alternate reality where mutants rule the world, in particular Magneto as the top dog. But ironically, it's also a world where Wanda is supposedly human and doesn't have any powers and stays out of it all. So she can raise her 2 kids. But yeah, so this illusion lasts for a few issues until Wolverine sort of sees through it. Him and both
Miller.
the resurrected Hawkeye as well.
Isn't Layla Miller in there?
Yeah, they
No stuff.
meet up with Layla, and basically Layla helps wake up all the other like heroes and stuff in this alternate world. And so yeah, they try and confront Wanda and get her to return things back to normal. But at this point, Wanda's mind's completely broken, basically. And this leads to the infamous no more mutants, wiping out like 99% of the mutant population, including her brother.
Yeah.
Yes.
Boom.
Well, not just her brother. Her supposed father.
Oh yeah, well yeah, him too.
Yeah. Wanda, I mean, that was personal for her on those two.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of whatever they say that the situation is, there seems to be a connection between those two and Magneto.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's quite personal, you know. Like, even if it's not technically their father, like a somewhat of a father figure, you know, who ended up emotionally manipulating them, like everybody's father does.
Yeah, I mean that's what fathers do, isn't it?
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Corey didn't like that one.
Very close to home.
Is your father Magneto?
Sure, that would have come up before now.
I haven't said
Whatever
anything.
John Magneto.
Yeah, I wouldn't, I wouldn't bring it up just because I wouldn't want John coming by the house.
Why not?
Well, I'm not
He could be your new stepmom.
Oh, well, Magneto's part of the polycule, so I guess so. John is technically my stepmom.
Yeah. How awesome how do I get into this family?
They've got to indoctrinate a member of your family into the polycule, apparently.
I don't want John to fuck anyone in my family. No offense, John. I just don't want that.
It's a matter of pride.
It's just a personal thing. I'm not interested, you know.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
You're busy, man. You don't have time.
He's having to satisfy like 3 other guys right now.
This is tough work, but someone's got to do it.
Hot and wet. John Fuller.
Oh man, cut this bit out.
Keep it in. Put this on YouTube.
The whole thing's going on YouTube, so.
Oh dear. Anyway, so Quicksilver, he's like super depressed because he's no longer got any mutant powers. Even tries to kill himself at one point because he's not himself anymore. But Crystal takes him back to Atalan, and Quicksilver basically begs Black Bolt to let him go undergo some Terrigenesis to kind of regain his powers. But I don't know. It's not exactly an exact science, so I don't know what he was expecting there. Yeah. But Black Bolt basically refuses him permission to do that. But this is Quicksilver, so he just steals some Terrigen crystals, and he does it anyway. But it turns out it's only like a temporary fix. And it only it doesn't just restore his super speed, but it gives him the ability to kind of restore other like superhuman abilities of like former mutants as well, albeit with like really uncertain outcomes. Like it's
real monkey's paw shit.
It's not giving them their powers back exactly as they were, but in unpredictable ways.
Yeah. So this
Um,
was in the this was partially covered in the X Factor storyline, the second
Yes.
Peter David X Factor series.
Yes.
And there was also a Quicksilver one shot, I think, that a lot of this was covered in too.
mhm.
But yeah. So I remember like one of them, for example, was like Callisto was exposed to it, and like she became super sensitive to like every physical sensation, like just like anything, like her air touching open skin was like, or sorry, her skin touching open air was like excruciatingly painful for her.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently, he has powers as well. If he tried to use them on, a mutant who still had their powers, overload them and kind of make them go completely, crazy, basically. So yeah, having this ability just made Quicksilver go slightly mad and caused him to basically instigate like a silent war between the Inhumans and the U.S. government.
Yeah.
But we don't really care about the Inhumans, so
No.
we can skip over that.
Cool.
Yep, fair.
Go away with Inhumans. I don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, stuff happens.
We know.
I don't know who wins. We don't care.
Yeah, it's not
But
important humans.
whatever happens, like Quicksilver, he ends up in Mutant Town, and tries to use his powers to help restore, the powers of some of the people who'd lost theirs. But he's only really doing it to people he deems worthy, which, because he's not all there in the head at this point. And yeah, he jail because he's a bit out of control. Um, and while he's in jail, he kind of finally kind of starts snapping out of it, and I think like his powers just stabilize as well, so he loses the ability to restore the people's powers. He's got his super speed back, and he's basically now looking to get a bit of redemption for having gone crazy for 5 minutes or so. So that's Quicksilver.
There he is.
As for Wanda, after like M Day, she had lost her memories, and then she was sort of wandering around in Eastern Europe. I believe she like encounters Hawkeye,
Oh, she
who,
does.
yeah.
Bit of a weird choice
So,
on somebody's part.
yep. I mean, do we really want to go into that? It's a bit gross.
I mean, we'll just state it because we've already danced around the subject. Hawkeye had sex with her knowing that that was the Scarlet Witch and that she had no memory of him. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
that's basically rape when you get down to it. But,
Yeah. Not a good look for
put the
Hawkeye.
Avengers theme song right here. Moving on.
So yes, moving on. She then encounters the Young Avengers, which the lineup include a Wiccan and Tommy Shepard, aka Seed, who it turns out are incarnated souls of her dead sons. That helps, I guess, like bring her memories back as well. But once she kind of gets it all together, aren't particularly happy with the fact that now 99% of the mutant population has been decimated. So they kind of want to make her pay for her crimes, only for the Avengers to intervene and kind of, save Wanda, basically. Um, And then I guess they get up to Avengers, stuff in the next couple of years, but we'll skip over that to when the Phoenix decides to return to Earth once again. And
always does.
yeah, the X-Men have decided that they want to try and claim the Phoenix and use its powers to restart the mutant population, which leads to a bit of a war between them and the Avengers, who think that the Phoenix is too powerful and too dangerous for the X-Men to try and use in that way. And so the Avengers end up capturing Hope, who is like a young mutant, the very first one who had been born after M-Day, who Cable had taken into the future and basically protected from Bishop, who had also gone crazy and was trying to kill her. But yeah, she was back in the present as like a teenage girl. She's captured by the Avengers because it seems like the X-Men want to, have her become the Phoenix host. And Scarlet Witch is on hand to basically help train her. You know, in an effort to kind of help her be able to control this like dangerous, wild, cosmic entity. But it turns out, after spending all that time trying to prepare Hope for this role, the Phoenix just goes and inserts itself into the Phoenix Five instead, who were Cyclops, Emma Frost, Namor, Colossus, and Magic, I believe.
I think so.
So yeah, so the Phoenix is split between those five, but eventually, as the war kind of rages on, it's just Cyclops left with like the power of the Phoenix all on his own. So he gets confronted by Professor X first, and he kills Professor. And then he gets confronted by Scarlet Witch and Hope, who are like, hoping to exorcise the Phoenix from him. And together they manage to do so, and that helps Hope basically, use the Phoenix power to kickstart mutant births again. So yeah, mutants are back, baby.
Finally. Been so long. Even though she was the one that put the mutants to bed to begin with.
Yep.
Well, yeah, but I mean, redemption for Wanda to be able to help bring him back again.
So does she like mutants now?
So I want to say real quick. So Wanda's redemption was basically undoing that. Do you want to know what Quicksilver's redemption was for his actions?
Eat a lot of peanuts.
No, he had my favorite. He had my favorite thing ever that I've seen, and this was like Dark Reign era. He was so after what happened with X Factor is he lost access to the mists, depowered, got arrested because he was trying to kill Layla Miller, and because Layla Miller was associating with X Factor at the time as well.
Yes,
and he ends up starting to get these hallucinogenic visions of the Scarlet Witch while he's in prison. And believing that Wanda's back, he ends up joining and gets out of jail via Hank Pym and his Mighty Avengers lineup. And the Mighty Avengers lineup was probably one of my favorite traditional Avengers lineups that they've had in a long time. Like, it was full of weird fucking oddballs. But that's what kind of made it fun. Mm-hmm. But anyway, when asked about his actions by like the press and stuff, this was after Secret Invasion, Quicksilver just lied and told everybody it was a Skrull that did it. No, it wasn't me. It was a Skrull. I was kidnapped. I was totally kidnapped.
Easy.
The only person who saw through that was his daughter, who basically disowned him to his face when she confronted him about it, and his "I was a Skrull" thing didn't pan out. Now, John, are we going to talk about the corporate X Factor, Serval Industries?
I wasn't, but if you would like to,
All right, so
absolutely feel free.
This is a real quick one as well, because this run did not last very long. I think it maybe was less than 20 issues. So this is another Peter. Okay. This is another Peter David X Factor run after his Jamie Madrox series ends. And so basically, the center of this team was Polaris, and Polaris being in this weird state of depression, because she's kind of the forgotten kid of Magneto's in a sense, like. Yeah, it's an odd place for her.
After the two Magneto kids that weren't even his kids.
Yeah, she was always third place to the ones that weren't even his kids.
That's gotta suck, dude.
So anyway, Pietro's trying to keep tabs on her, and she ends up getting involved in this corporate company called Serval Industries that bought the rights to the name X Factor, and. Okay. They basically have a superhero team, and Quicksilver joins kind of not so secretly, just as a way to keep tabs on his sister Polaris. The other members of the team, by the way, Dylan, you'll love this lineup. It's Polaris is the leader, Quicksilver, Gambit, Doug Ramsey, Warlock, and Danger.
When you said I would love it.
Yes.
Was that a bit?
Yes and no. I had a feeling you'd be all about Gambit being involved in the team. But
why would Gambit be involved with that?
Couldn't tell you.
Well,
couldn't tell you.
Who wrote this?
Peter David.
Why? Can you ask him? Well, you can't ask him.
He passed away, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right. As soon as I said it, I'm like, well, I fucked that up.
But yeah, it was a thing that it didn't really last. It wasn't a long run, and everybody had these weird yellow and orange uniforms that Quicksilver did wear this time, and goggles. Everybody had goggles, including Gambit.
Oh,
Gambit didn't. Yeah, he didn't have his trench coat either. He had like a short coat, like into the waist.
Oh, I don't like it.
Yep. Anyway, that's your Serval Industries Quicksilver update in X Factor. Again, trying to keep tabs on the sisters and joining teams for the sake of just keeping an eye on her.
Well, as for his other sister, Wanda ended up joining the Avengers Unity team, which is sort of a mix between Avengers and mutants to try and, repair and heal some of the, tensions that had built up between the two camps during, the whole Phoenix saga. Like one of the mutants who is on the team with her, though, is Rogue, who very much does not like Wanda and still blames her for decimation. So, there's a lot of tension there between the two of them. But, there's bigger things going on than whatever beef they've got, including the Red Skull showing up, having... stolen Professor X's brain and surgically attaching it to his own, I guess, to somehow give himself Professor X's powers, because...
2 brains, 1 skull.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense.
Double the brain, double the smart.
Also, like, his head was the exact same size, so how was he fitting...
Brains are squishy. You just
inside there.
The brain was in the anus.
That makes
the
more
brain,
sense,
if you will.
Anyway, so yes, the Avengers Unity Squad are like fighting the Red Skull in his base on Genosha. They're also joined by Magneto, who was hunting the Red Skull at the same time as well. Magneto kills the Red Skull, but in doing so, that unleashes the Red Onslaught, having I guess, like, Magneto's magnetic powers mixed in with the Xavier brain in Red Skull. I guess that, creates an onslaught or something. Whatever.
Just yeah, it just if it doesn't seem to make sense on paper, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Fine.
So yeah, Red Onslaught is a thing, and he's like threatening to, kill the world or whatever. And so it's up to Wanda and Doctor Strange to try and perform an inversion spell on Red Onslaught. So the idea being that they'd make Professor X's mind kind of take charge of, this two-brained beast. But as it turns out, they accidentally cast this spell on everyone who was on Genosha at this point, and there was a lot of people there,
Gosh, dang
including
it.
the X-Men, the Avengers, a random collection of villains like Hobgoblin and I think Carnage as well.
Carnage was there. Oh yeah.
So yeah, they all have their like personalities inverted. So villains become heroes, heroes become villains. Um, and yeah, this goes on for like a few issues and stuff where we get some fun out of that before eventually,
Sure.
I think it's the spirit of Doctor Voodoo's brother, Daniel Drum, basically helps them, Wanda and Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom kind of undo the effects of the original inversion spell. But in the meantime, she discovers, along with Pietro, that Magneto was in fact not their birth father, because she tries to use a spell which is meant to hurt anyone with blood ties to her, and it hurts Quicksilver,
Oops.
but it has no effect whatsoever on Magneto. So,
Well, gosh dang it.
yeah, turns
So-
out they're not related, and they're not mutants either, because their parents, their powers have come directly from the high evolutionary, the old status quo of what we thought was, going on with Wanda and Pietro. Has to be said as well, this was all done because at the time the X-Men weren't, part of the MCU, and they were just trying to,
they really wanted to put him in the movie.
Yeah. So we've got this new beginning for them. Quicksilver basically takes over Wanda's place on the Avengers Unity team. Well, temporarily at least, but then he gets kicked off it pretty quickly because his recklessness basically causes. Yeah, I could have just said that, but his recklessness causes his teammate Synapse to get injured during a fight with Juggernaut.
Synapse.
That
so-
great comic character we all know and love, Synapse.
Yeah, lasting effect on comics.
Well, that's because she got injured by the Juggernaut.
Adult Juggernaut.
Adult, yeah. Our boy would
Yeah.
not hurt that woman. He's a good boy.
Oh, he's a baby.
He's a good
He's a
Christian
baby.
boy.
Mm,
We're working on it.
we'll talk about that.
We try to baptize him, and we inadvertently just almost drown him every single time because he goes right to the bottom.
He just broke the whole
Little porcelain dish thing.
yeah, smashed the whole thing.
Yeah.
Beat up the whole church.
Yeah.
Bad move.
What you expect? He's the baby Juggernaut.
Can't be
Bitch.
stopped.
Bitch. Does he have a Cockney accent? Does the baby Juggernaut have a Cockney accent? That's the question.
He's a baby.
I know, but he makes noises. Are they Cockney noises?
Okay.
Okay. You've heard of yes anding. Now it's time for okay.
Yeah. We'll
So
discuss this later.
yeah, we'll figure this out at another time. Um,
Yeah.
where are we? Like, let's just say Wanda has become more embroiled in the magical world with like a couple of her series. Quicksilver isn't really being used much at this point.
Yep.
And so we'll just jump straight ahead to the start of Krakoa and the mutants going off, having their own island, and basically becoming sort of like a world power through trade and medicines and stuff like that. So yeah, on Krakoa, Scarlet Witch is basically considered like a boogeyman. She is known as the pretender for fooling everyone into thinking she's a mutant, even though she did legitimately think she was a mutant. So it's kind of a mean nickname. But Scarlet Witch is looking for redemption, even though she kind of got it already when the Phoenix.
She brought back the mutants.
Yeah, she's done stuff, but apparently it's not good enough. So she tries to resurrect mutants herself, not realizing that they now had resurrection protocols. Her efforts don't go as well as the protocols, but it does kind of like plant a new idea in her head. So during the very first Hellfire Gala, she makes amends with Magneto and kind of accepts him as a father figure, even if he's not, biologically her father.
He's not the stepfather. He's
Uh,
the father who stepped up.
there you go. God, that got me in the feels right there.
Of course.
Yeah, and then lo and behold, she gets killed during this Hellfire Gala. But it turns out it was all one big convoluted plan to allow her powers to basically fold time and like bring into the resurrection protocols all of the mutants who died before Cerebro was activated. Is at this point they were basically all the mutants who were alive and well had been kind of backed up by Cerebro, and then when they grew like a new body for them, they could just like put those memories and personality and whatnot from Cerebro into the new mutant, basically. But through Wanda, now they can go back and grab any mutant from any era and bring him back to life again. So that kind of improved her reputation with the mutants. She became known as like a mutant savior, with the nickname of the Redeemer now.
That's
So
nice.
good for her.
Yeah, that's nice.
And that's about it as far as
Not a lot going on in Krakoa. I know Quicksilver like beat the shit out of Magneto while there, and then broke down crying after Magneto called him son. That was the thing that happened. And then he and Wanda got drunk with Toad and Mastermind at the Blue Lagoon. Or was it the Blue Lagoon or Green Lagoon? What was the name of the bar? It was Blob's
I think
bar.
it was the Blue Lagoon, I think.
Yeah, Blob's bar.
So sweet.
Yep. So I had a little Brotherhood of Evil Mutants reunion.
Aw. It all comes back around, man.
Yeah.
It all comes back around. Some way, in some weird, strange way, it all kind of came back around.
So, John, do you have anything for Fall of X?
I don't think so.
Okay. So this was a short mini series that happened after the Hellfire Gala, the last Hellfire Gala in Krakoa fell. Captain America saw the mutants were being hunted down by Orcus, so he assembled a second Unity squad, and the members were Captain America, Deadpool, Penance, Rogue, Psylocke, and Quicksilver. So mostly mutant lineup. It was the book title was Uncanny Avengers, and mainly they were kind of just there to try to stop this false Captain Krakoa from further damaging the reputation of mutants. The false Captain Krakoa being revealed to be the evil Steve Rogers that was brainwashed was a Hydra agent. And Quicksilver's
Another classic bit.
Yep, Quicksilver's main involvement there was being the fast guy and also starting up a relationship with M. So, yep.
Okay. Well.
Yep. Then after that, Steve Orlando did a Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch miniseries that was mainly about how the pair bring out the best and worst in each other, and mainly the story that was pretty much the storyline about it was sort of them trying to continue living their very complicated existence together, where they love each other, but they also realize that at times they bring out their worst traits in one another. And as of right now, Quicksilver is still kind of a backup Avenger, and Wanda is the Sorcerer Supreme. I think that's everything. John, is there anything else there that you were going to bring up?
No, I think that about covers it all.
That's where we end things, and like Wanda is like one of the most powerful people in the world, and also the winner of our Marvel bracket. And Quicksilver is just a dude.
Yep, pretty much.
He can run fast.
Yep, he can run and think fast.
Actually, I think you did cover a lot of Avengers stuff too.
I know, I didn't mean to, but you have to for context.
Wanda,
so really,
Wanda
a lot.
Wanda has so little to do with the X-Men stuff for the most part. Like, if I swear to God, this episode would have been even shorter if there was not the House of M storyline. Because, like, we would have just stopped talking about Scarlet Witch. She would have just stopped talking about her in the 80s. That we were like, and then Scarlet Witch just never came back to the X-Men books after that.
Well, House of M you have to talk about because it is.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
X-Men.
If that storyline didn't exist, we wouldn't talk about Scarlet Witch past 1984.
Right.
In the context of this, this here.
Blood ties.
Blood ties. Well, I mean, she didn't even have a huge part in Blood Ties.
Not really.
I mean, that was mainly a Magneto book.
No, it wasn't.
Exodus book.
Yeah, Magneto was not involved.
Well,
it was briefly.
The whole point of it was people poking the bear on Magneto.
Yes, it was a reference to Magneto, but he wasn't really.
He wasn't there. But yeah, it was mainly a bunch of people trying to piss him off.
Correct.
So yeah, I mean, well, traditionally when we do these episodes, we talk a little bit about how they're portrayed in alternate comic continuities and movies and stuff. So I mean, we can hit on those really quick. We already mentioned that most famously, the Ultimate Universe, the original Ultimate Universe, they were quite incestuous. And I remember a panel of Captain America finding out and being really weirded out, and then the Wasp going, "Oh, you're just being an old fuddy-duddy." It was like, what? What? No, I think that's a normal reaction to have. But yeah, because, that's the Ultimates for you. Those books do not hold up. They do not hold up. And so there's that one. I don't know if there's any other like alternate comic universes that you would like to mention. Both were in Age of Apocalypse, but very small parts. Both were in Marvel Zombies. I think mainly in Marvel Zombies, Quicksilver was responsible for the spread of the zombie virus because of super speed. Just running around biting everybody. So if we want to talk about movies and stuff, that's A Tale of Two Cities as well. Very famously, we've had one Scarlet Witch and we've had two Quicksilvers. So our one Scarlet Witch is Mary Elizabeth Olsen.
Yes.
Who people really enjoyed, obviously. and we had 2 Quicksilvers, one in the Fox movies with, was it what's Evan's last name?
Peters?
Evan Peters, and Aaron Taylor Johnson for the MCU.
Yes.
So yeah, thoughts on those?
I mean, Aaron Taylor Johnson's version, this is a, like, I don't know, 14-year-old spoiler, but he dies in that movie because Quicksilver doesn't really offer much except for being
A dick.
sacrificial lamb. So
it's to the surprise of no one, I do like Quicksilver, and I was disappointed they killed him off in that movie. But again, what were you gonna do with him? I feel like there's a lot of characters they've introduced to the MCU that could be killed off at this point, because like, what are you gonna do with them now?
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, no, he was fine. Evan Peters definitely more memorable with his scenes in the Fox movies, the slow motion stuff as he's running around. Very well shot, beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Absolutely.
It's more fun.
Yeah.
Like, you watching like lots of fun character because of the way they shoot it.
Well, and
whereas the other quick just not fun.
Well, yeah, they're both playing essentially pricks but different flavor. So like,
yes,
Evan Peters' Quicksilver is annoying and obnoxious, but in a fun way. He's cracking jokes. And Aaron Taylor Johnson is playing a dickhead.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go.
Well, and Quicksilver.
Yeah, we did get to see him or Quicksilver come back in WandaVision, kind of, as Evan Peters assumed the role of Wanda's brother in one of the alternate little reality she created before it was revealed, because a lot of people thought that was going to be like the first like multiverse thing they did. In reality, it was sort of, I think Evan Peters was just like somebody that lived in that neighborhood, and she just manipulated him into being her brother.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I knew some people disappointed in that. They were really hoping that was going to be a multiverse thing.
I mean, it was a pretty funny twist.
It was.
I can see why people would be disappointed with it, but I found it pretty funny. And the fact his real name in that was Ralph Boner as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the little things that, you can't help but laugh at that.
But yeah, so that's where we are right now with Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Again, this was our as little talk about the Avengers as possible. Deep dive into their place in the world of mutants, even though they're not technically mutants. I think the only person who gets fucked with as much as they do in regards to that is Franklin Richards. They go out of their way to either explain he's a mutant or he's not a mutant. So currently he's not a mutant. But I mean, the very nature of Franklin Richards' power, he could just change his mind, and he is suddenly. So, he is a mutant for as long as he feels like being one.
Well, that's his power. He can just do whatever he wants.
Yep.
He can just change himself on a molecular level to not be mutant.
That being said, John, how many movies have you watched so far this year?
Ritlink.
How else?
I am.
Everyone's a judge.
I've currently watched 336 movies for the year so far.
Okay. So yeah, that's not bad. You're getting close to 400, and April hasn't even started yet. Well done.
Yeah, it's going pretty well so far this year, I'd say.
Yeah. What was your most recent one you watched?
I had another Vincent Price double bill today. I've watched a lot of his movies so far this year. Like, I think I reached my 17th movie with Vincent Price in. And this was I guess it was a horror anthology, but it was basically 3 stories in one movie all based on the works of Nathaniel Hawthorne, who did like the Scarlet Letter, and it's called Twice Told Tales. Truthfully, it wasn't great. I mean, I liked it, but I didn't love it because it just felt a bit overlong, and like the horror aspect of it was a bit lacking. But it's Vincent Price, and there's something enjoyable about him hamming it up as only he can. So
Always.
yeah.
Fair.
And John, where they can see the where can people start that over again?
What did you give it? What did you give it?
Oh, I think I gave that one 3 stars.
It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah.
And John, where can people go to see reviews for other Vincent Price movies that you've been watching recently?
They can find me on Letterboxd at Big John Bowski, all one word.
Dylan, what have you been up to this week?
Well, I do a radio show that I do every Monday nights on Bounce Digital Radio. You can listen to it online if you wish, all across the world. We'll do it from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock on like UK time. So whatever time that is for you, and whatever part of the globe you are listening to this on, just convert the time. 9 o'clock on Monday nights, and you'll hear all sorts of cool music. Some of it you'll know, some of it you might not know. I really like it. I stream on Twitch sometimes, Spooky LaRue, where I draw pictures and then I animate those pictures and put them up on Team Crows and I on YouTube. And that's it.
There you go. And the links for all those can be found in the description of this video as well. I have my other show, Large Old Cup, which is a stream of consciousness thing. I think in the last episode, which is now 3 or 4 episodes ago, by the time you hear this, I talked about going to see Gary Newman, Gorilla Biscuits, and Circle Jerks all in 48 hours. Well, 24 hours, really. I could have made it a triple threat and saw Gwar on Sunday night, but I couldn't do that to myself physically.
You went to a clown rave too.
I did go to a clown rave. That was not the main attraction, though. And I also got into an altercation afterwards, which I think I told you guys about. But if not, we'll talk about it off air.
You did.
Fair
You
enough.
did. Mm-hmm.
That being said, I also have the other show that's on this YouTube channel, New Number Ones, where we look at new issue number ones. I'm not gonna lie, it's getting a little difficult right now. There's not as many independent small publisher new number ones coming out as I would like, so I might have to lift the embargo on Marvel and DC.
Well,
They'll probably get more views, that's for sure, though.
Do we want views or do we want people to know the truth?
I mean, I'm gonna aim for the small creator-owned stuff as often as I can. Like I said, I just did Electric Chair by Adam Falp, which was fucking wild to read. So I'll always aim for stuff like that first, but if it's like one-shots or like something bad, then I'm gonna probably go for a Marvel or a DC. Okay. Case in point, I did see a small publisher from Australia put out something that was so bad I didn't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was rough. It was a rough one. But you can find that also on the YouTube channel. Until next time, though, the next time we do this, by the way, guys, our choices to do deep dives on are a little. We're getting interesting. Next up, Namor the Submariner, technically a mutant, debuted in X-Men issue number 6 in 1964. After that is Eunice the Untouchable, and then Banshee, Mahayogi, Morph, Mesmero, and then we get to Polaris and Havoc.
Listen, I don't want to be that guy, but I'm pretty sure we can skip some of those guys.
Might be worth it. Might be worth it. Or we do like the 5-minute Eunice the Untouchable segment of the episode before we talk about someone else. By the way, he was around. You couldn't touch him. That was his gimmick.
Well, then he suffocated and died.
Yep. Like you do.
Classic bit.
Like you do.
Well, I don't.
Well, maybe you will, because we'll see you guys next week with another episode. Maybe Dylan at this point will learn.
Yeah. Maybe next week I'll be dead.
Maybe. Dead.
Maybe.
All right, bye guys.
Fingers crossed. Huh? Okay.
Bye
See
bye.
you later. Quick way to end the show.
Bye bye.